All right, you guys, I am back here for my laptop. So sorry about that. I literally hate when that happens. It makes me so frustrated, but yeah, for the third time. And hopefully the last. Alex in the chat first. All right, let's get this opened up. Again, because I'm on my laptop, I'm gonna have to check back and forth to see um, to make sure that works. Or I'm sorry, words. Let me get my thoughts straight. I'll have to check back and forth in the chat. So if I don't answer your questions right away, I will answer them. Let's open up where we were at. We have the footage. Cool. This is the great part. Look how easy, FYI, you guys, that was for me. Hold on. Let me move this down. Great. Close that out. There we go. Close that. There we go. But because of how easy and accessible my project file was, I was able to quickly just put that into my Dropbox, and it has all the assets in it, so I don't have to re-download everything or reconnect anything. I just opened it up here. And that is the power of that organization that I told you guys about in the beginning of the semester. You know, like it wasn't ideal for me to have to come in here and switch onto my laptop. But in these scenarios, when you don't have ideal things happening, just getting a mouse out, it's good to be as prepared as possible for these situations that you're not ready for. And so, that being said, it was pretty prepared. Let's see here. Cool, we are back in. My mouse is running fast. How do I change that? Speed. Whatever. I guess I'll drop that down. So, the last place we left off, I was getting ready to create that background with the lines on it. So, I'm going to grab this shape layer here. I created a stroke, right? You can see the stroke, but at the moment it is just off screen. I'm going to center this again, 960, 540. And what we want to do is we want to add a repeater onto this. And what the repeater does is it adds repetitions to whatever shape layer that you have there. So in this case, it is going to be these lines. And when I increase this, you're going to see all of a sudden they go across the screen there. I want to get to probably, I think 60 should be good. And then I want to go down my transform. And the problem is that the position of this is wrong. We have to change the position here so that these go down this way, right? So I'm just going to increase that position 100, probably going back this way. Cool, 170 seems to work well. So that, oh, don't want to move that background layer, so let's lock that solid. This one right here, I'll lock that up. Quick save. Go back into this repeater right here. And so I increased the number of the copies, and then I changed the X position here so that we got, so that the copies, instead of going straight this way on only the, I'm sorry, on only the X, it goes down on the Y as well. So we increase the Y position. And you can decrease this one or just kind of move them around to get a visual that you like here. I'm going to probably put this back at 100. I like increments of 5, so there we go. Let's see if we can, the scale will change. Notice the scale changes so it starts off at the full length, and then each time you go down, every iteration that you go down of the repetition, it's going to decrease that by a certain percentage. And so that's what the scale does. inside of this transform of the repeater. Now, that's the important thing, right, is that we're in the transform property of the repeater and not of the actual line. Let me rename this layer there. Because there's multiple transform properties when you start adding different animation properties and effects and stuff to things, right? So we have our basic transform properties of the actual layer itself. And then when we added the shape has its own transform properties. And then when we added the repeater actually has its own transform properties. So you want to make sure that you're in the appropriate one. When we're making the copies, we need to be in the repeater, and then we need to be in the transform repeater in order to get that to repeat in the appropriate spot. So just be mindful of the details there. And we want to add like a random kind of wiggling and rippling throughout these lines. And we're going to do that with an effect called turbulent displace. And if you just come up into your effects and presets and you type turb, it'll come up with a couple ones. There's turbulent noise and turbulent displace. You want to grab the appropriate one and drop it onto your layer here. And notice what happens is we get these cool lines that are formed, that almost like zebra stripes or some kind of pattern, right? And so we can start playing around with the amount, the size. Let's try 190. Let's crank this one to 100. And you can start playing around with that, the amount of it, the size of it. You can change the type of turbulence that you want to add to the lines there. The turbulent smoother looks kind of cool. But we want to animate this, right? We don't want it to just be here and be stagnant. We want it to look cool. And so we could animate the evolution here, and the evolution is going to change those lines and the way they move around and interact with each other. Now we can manually throw keyframes down, or we can use an effect, or I'm sorry, an expression. Now expressions are super powerful. I know that we've used the loop out one, and you guys can see how quickly you can animate things and have like a repeated animation using that loop out expression. Well, there's one that is called time. And again, I know we talked about this last class. It takes the time of your computer clock and it's multiplying it by whatever value you put it in there, right? So if I alt click on this evolution parameter here of the turbulent displace, and I go down into my layer down here and I type in time and I multiply that by 20 and I hit enter. And when I play that, we get this nice, really smooth looking motion. One thing I'm noticing, let me check the audio. It's probably blowing your guys' eardrums out. Let me play this and check this. Cool, that's much better. Seems a little loud on my end. My computer is at 50%. My computer is at 50% volume, so I might want to just knock that down a few more notches. Let's see what the audio level looks like. If we bring up audio here and we play that. Okay, I'm going to drop it down one more notch just so that I'm not dealing with it too loud. So I'm going to drop it to -9 decibels. A little bit easier on my ears right now. I'm going to save that. I'm going to lock this again. And now that we have this cool looking background, I'm actually going to change the color of the line because I don't want it to stand out too much. I want to have text on top of this. And so I'm actually going to select this blue color and pick like a lighter version of that. Maybe shift the hue a little bit more towards that green to get more of like this aqua color. And maybe I want to add that Gaussian blur over top of it to just kind of blur the lines a little bit. I think that would look nice. Let's increase that right there. So we kind of have a blurry background. Now keep in mind that the more things we start stacking here, remember what I said when we were putting audio into After Effects at first. After Effects is not an audio program, it's a visual program, so it's going to favor the visuals over audio. So if you start having the problem where it's slowing down your audio, that's where putting these little markers on your timeline are going to be beneficial for you guys, okay? You shouldn't have too much of a problem here, but it could, it could be an issue depending on what kind of machine you guys are working with. So we've got a cool looking background here. Remember, you guys can use also, let's cancel that. Let's bring this up here. I mean, if we wanted to get crazy with it, you can use different blend modes, overlay. I don't know, I shut this off. That's why you can't see it. You guys can start to get really kind of creative with this, multiply, so that there's like, something over top. Now, I mean, this is too congested for me. I would obviously not want to do that. I would delete that off of there and just keep this way. But you can still mess around with this and see what kind of, what type of results you get, right? That's the best thing about After Effects and starting to use these effects as experimentation, right? There's a lot of different, how do I want to say, there's a lot of different parameters that you can change on layers inside of your effects by stacking layer like the order of your layers, and so really cool stuff you can get out of this. So have fun with this section of it, try and see what you guys can come up with. The next thing I want to do is I obviously want to add my text, so I'm going to type in motion, probably going to use all caps, graphics real. There's a couple different ways we've animated text in the back. Let me fit this into my scene. I want to center I'm going to center the anchor point on here. So I'm going to come up here and control double click on that. And then let's center this into the comp right there. I obviously want it bigger. I'm going to close this audio panel out here. So in my new properties panel, which is lovely, I'm going to increase the size. 100 seems appropriate. Let's change the font to something that is approved, right? We want to use approved fonts. Again, important. I like to use this Poppins font. And maybe make it bold here so that it stands out a little bit more. Again, I have to recenter my anchor point, and then I'm going to realign it into the composition here. And in the past, we've added like an echo to the animation. So if I were to, let's say, change the position, if we're animated backwards, right? So I'm going to zoom in here on my timeline. And I'm going to start at 1 second. In fact, I'm going to start at 12 frames and keyframe the resting position that I want to end up at, and then move my playhead to the beginning of the timeline and then change that position value so I have this animation happening. You can do something similar to this. At this point, you would want to ease it. Ease these keyframes. Go into here. Let's go into the value graph. And because I haven't separated my keyframes, you're not going to get those Bezier handles, right? So we want to come in here. We're going to select the position, and we're going to select separate dimensions. So now when I grab that Y position, I can, remember when you do that, you lose your easing. So I need to grab onto these again, making sure that I select all of the keyframes. And then we'll just, down here, we'll hit Easy Ease at the bottom, just to give it the basic easing. And now we're going to adjust that. So we want it to kind of come in fast and slow down right here. So I'm actually going to take this one, drag this up, so that we're going to get a fast speed, and then it's going to slow down into its resting position. Nice, not bad. Cool. Let's save that. And we can go into our effects and presets again. Let me turn on real quick that zoom it thing here. Ooh. So then, does it work? No, it does not. There we go. That should work. There we go. Cool. So over here in my effects and presets, I'm going to type in echo. This effect should not be new to you guys. Under time, and I'm going to drop that onto my text layer here. And so now, when this animates down, you can see these echoes coming down. Let's change the number of echoes to maybe 15. And I think if we negative 0.005. There we go. We kind of have this tighter looking, like, again, the shorter the time, the shorter the distance in between the echoes. Let's change this to 0.005, so we maybe, if we can get that low. Ooh, that's real tight. End up rounding up anyways. It's a little too tight. Stay back at the 5. That's cool. And before, we kept the echoes like the same intensity all the way, but I kind of want the end intensity to get to be lighter there. So I'm just going to drop this decay down. Let's go 0.5 here, so we have the right amount of iterations happening, but it's just easier to see that top layer. And we want to composite in the back. That's the other important thing. So we want those iterations of that echo to happen behind our text and not on top of our text. So making sure that you select composite in the back is going to be important there. Let's increase that decay 0.7 right there. Cool. So we see a little bit more of those echoes. You can change the intensity. Let's keep that up higher. The other thing that you can do is you can add on a fill, or I think you can add a gradient, which would be cool. Let's try the gradient ramp. Neat. And so I can pick this one to be white in the top, and then maybe this one's like a similar blue to this one here, with a little bit of a lighter blue. I wanted this to be white. So the iterations are kind of tinted. It's going to end up end color. So I want to swap these, okay? So I'm going to actually do this there, change this one to white because I want it to end white. Let's change this a little bit lighter here. Let's get out of this mode. Cool. That's neat. So you can do that. We can add a blur onto that. And the more you start stacking these effects, ooh, did that crunch some of these down at the bottom, some of these values? Pause it in the back. Let's add this because this is on the actual text layer. And so in order to get the, because it's obviously not white like I wanted it, and it's too blurry here, right? We need it to be crisp and clear in order to read that. And so adding this Gaussian blur and all these effects, they're really cool, but it kind of gets rid of what we had initially. And so the way to get around that is actually by duplicating this layer here and then shutting off these effects right there, or you can just delete them off of that layer. And what it does is it just adds this to the top of, to like over top of it. So you're still seeing it. You're still seeing that echo. You're still seeing it blurred out, which actually kind of gives the text a neat glow to it with that Gaussian blur on that. And so it looks really cool like this. I actually like this a lot. I'm going to save that. Another cool thing that you guys can do with your text is animating along a path, right? So we've animated objects along a path, but we haven't animated text along a path. So how would we do that? Let's shut this off real quick. And we will type in, where did my toolbar go? Where's my toolbar? In After Effects shortcut, because I must have hit something. Disappearing top bar.
Building your online business?
Let's see this real quick. Any questions right now?
And set up your store on a...
Let me know if you guys have any
The
questions.
easiest is to use the keyboard shortcut Control plus backslash.
Okay, let's try that. Maybe that's what I hit. Control backslash. Okay, that made it bigger. That did nothing. Window, workspace, all panels. There we go. That fixed it. All right. Let's see, do we have questions in here? So let's animate the text along a path. I'm going to type the same thing. Motion graphics. Again, you guys can have your name on here if you want. I think it looks a little congested that way, unless you have it stacked like we've done in previous classes. But if you're following these, the echo effect one, you could stack it in a specific way that it can look good with your name, and you would do it very similar to how you guys did the beginning of the project. Which one was it? The Principles of Motion Design in After Effects, how you lined everything up to like a block grid. You could do that with your name in this in a very similar manner, and I think it would look really cool as well. But for this instance here, I think that it's good to just have it like this. Let's center this. Where's my align tool? Panel. Interesting things that we've run into today. Change the color of this so that I can see my layer. And let's say we wanted to animate this along the path. Before, what we were doing is we would select like our pen tool, right? And we would click off and we would create a path. By the way, if you hold Alt and click on these hard corners, it will turn these into like a Bezier path so that you have control over it and its softer edges, right? So before, what we did was this, and we would create this path, and then we would go into the contents, under the shape, and under the path, and we would select the path and we would copy it, and then we would go to the position of the object and we would paste the position. The problem with this is when I play it, it's following the path, right, but it's not really following the path. What we want it to do is to mold itself along this path, and and to really fit along this path, right? And it's not doing that right now. It is following it, but it's not molding itself to it. So let's undo this. And there's a different way to do it when it comes to text, right? So I'm going to delete that layer. And I am going to create that kind of wavy layer. Let's do this, 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 up here, down here. And hold down Alt and click on these sections where it comes to a point to get them nice and rounded. And notice that while I'm doing this, right, I'm actually in my mask tool right here because I selected the text layer and I'm creating a mask on this text layer using my pen tool. And that's exactly what I want to do here because when I drop this down, the contents down here, under your text contents, there's this section that says path options. And in the path options, it gives you the opportunity to fit it along your mask that you just created. And so now that I did that, we've got the text is actually fitting to that path that I created before, like I was saying that I wanted, right? So it's kind of, and the cool thing about it is that I can adjust this to be more of a shape that I want it to be. So maybe it comes to a section right here, and then maybe I add another section here where it's flat. If I Alt click on this, it's going to make it flat right there, right? So Alt clicking allows you to do one or the other, right? It allows you to create a Bezier curve where the vertexes are not where they're like a hard edge, or it allows you to do the opposite of that, right? And so I'm going to move this over. Oh, we got a little visitor. Oh, there, Millie. Hi there, Millie. Hi there. Yes, you got to sit down. You got to sit down, little girl. I know you're excited. You want to play. Bring your rope. Bring your rope. I'm teaching right now, so no time for that. All right, so I'm going to take this and move this flat here because I want it to come to a spot where it can rest and then maybe follow along the path to kind of make it curved again. So I'm going to bring this over here. Notice my text is moving. That's okay. I'm going to round that out a little bit. Maybe round this out. Keep this where it is. That looks neat. And in order to animate this along the path, you just have to animate either the first margin, which one you decide. They allow you to do either one. But let's kind of center this right here. So we know that's the center of our that title action safe on, just to double check. I'm going to move this over this way, holding down Shift so it's nice and flat. Maybe move this one over this way a little bit. And if I select this, it's very close to that center right there. And I'm going to zero out this last margin and actually animate the first margin. So I'm going to go animate backwards, right? Let's go to the 12th frame. Ooh, 15 seconds. Let's go in like this. Frame 12. Bring this like that. Go back here. Animate this off screen. Oh, the dingy do. You're dingy do, Millie. Great. All right, come on. Okay, distractions. I apologize, you guys. So animate this all the way off screen. Continuing to go that way. Have it sit like this for a few seconds because it's going to be on screen for about 5 seconds. So probably right around 3 here is where I'm going to copy and paste this keyframe. And then I'm going to move forward 12 frames and move this off screen. So then I'm going to go back this way. There we go. So then, cool. That's neat. Let's Let's go ahead and ease these keyframes. I'm going to go into we're in the value graph here. Now this is going to look a little bit different because this isn't like your typical transform properties, but the idea is the same, right? So I want it to come in rather fast. I want it to slow down into the stopping position, and then I want it to speed up out of this stop position and off screen, right? So again, the steeper part of the curve is the fastest section of the animation. Cool. That's a great way to transition into the next scene. So we are going to use this opportunity to introduce our first clip. And so what I want to do here is, not that, make that smaller. I'm going to move these just down below everything here. And I kind of want to hide this because this will be just some alternate way to animate the text if you guys want to. Let's get out of this graph editor so we can see this. And I want to see the level or the waveform here. In fact, I'm going to move this over just a little bit so it starts right away. And maybe I need to, I'm going to shuffle that over just a little bit. Cool. So where this is all the way off screen, so right around 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds is where I want to start to have my transition into the first clip. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this footage down and we're going to select something that's going to be really exciting to look at first. This one was really cool. This was Logan's little hoverbot that he did, and he added all these additional little animations into here, which look really cool and great. So let's start with that. Again, we want something more like high energy and exciting, so I'm going to bring that below the background and the text here, because this is going to allow me to fade out into the next scene or to give a transition into the next scene. So let's do like that circle matte transition that we've done in the past during the Monarch Butterfly, right? So right around here, 3 seconds in, I'm going to create an ellipse layer. I'm going to click off of here and create a circle. All right, I'm going to hold down, Shift. If I hold down Shift and Control, it'll do it from the center. And I need to Control double click here on the anchor point tool, so it's going to center that. I'm going to name this Mask Circle so I know what this layer is. And let's align that to the center of our composition. Let's change under the properties panel, I'm going to take the stroke color off and I'm going to do a solid fill, right? The color doesn't matter because it's just going to reveal the scene below, but I just want to be able to see it right now. And we're going to actually scale, so I'm going to start at 0% scale, and then I want to scale all the way up to this where the text is off screen. So I'm going to go in at 100 and go beyond that. I want it to obviously be larger. And let's ease the keyframes here. So I want this to actually start off slower and then move quickly. So nice, that's a good one. In fact, I might extend this out a little bit more. I'm actually going to shorten that. That's cool. I'm going to drag this down a little bit, get it going a little faster. Neat. And now we want to change the track matte of this layer in order to reveal this this footage of Logan's here, of the robot. And so the first thing that I want to do is I want to grab this and kind of line it up over here, the clip, so that the clip is being revealed at the very beginning of the animation, and then we can adjust it to where we need it to be. And I want this one to be revealed, so I want these to, I want the background, the lines on the background, and the text to be masked out by that circle mask. And so I'm going to select the circle mask, the mask circle layer, on these specific layers that I was saying, the text, the line, and the background, in order to have that disappear when the, well, it's going to do opposite. So what we need to do is come into here and select invert matte. Cool. And so what that's going to do, neat. Great. Now we only want this clip to be, we want to select the best section of this clip. Millie, stop. Get down. And so I'm going to actually move this a little bit further in, because I don't need that whole beginning where he's flying into the scene. I really want him to be in scene already and just doing his main action when this clip is revealed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the layer with that clip, the clip layer, over a little bit, so when it's fully revealed, it's some sort of cool action, like the main action that's going on in this scene here. And so when I go to play this, cool. I think that it only has to be on for a couple seconds. I think right around 6 seconds, or right here where I'm seeing a visual beat, we can switch to a new clip. When you guys are putting in new clips, right, I can select this robot layer, and if I hit Alt, close square bracket, that is going to trim that clip there for me. In fact, I'm going to trim these as well, so they're not really in my way while I'm working. I don't have all these long clips happening. It keeps this organized a little bit inside of your composition here, so it doesn't look too muddled up, right? It doesn't look too chaotic with all these layers lasting all the way to the end. I think this is a great spot to switch to a new clip. So we can do what's called a hard cut here, where it's just one clip to the next clip. Let's jump into, oh yeah, this one's cool. For angels. So when I want to only use a section of the animation, for instance, I only want to use this second scene at the moment where the giraffes are eating the leaves off the trees, right? When you double click on a clip, what it does is it brings you into this footage tab up here in your, you have your main composition stage. But if you double click on something, it will bring you into that specific footage. Now, when you're moving your playhead, there's a separate playhead here for this video, and you can move this along the clip. And what you want to do is when you get to the frame that you want to start to cut at, you set an end point, and then I'm going to drag that playhead further out. And right here, right before it ends, I'm going to set the out point. And then what I want to do is I want to overlay edit. And that's going to drop that section of the clip onto my timeline here. Now notice that this clip it's the entire clip, right? But it's only that section that I wanted. So if I wanted to extend this for some reason, I could do that. It will show the rest of the video. But I only wanted to show that one section, so that's why I am just setting that in and out point on this video itself here. It makes it easier than having to drop the entire clip into your timeline and then trying finding it, and it's, you know, a whole thing. Now, the other thing here,
Giraffes use their incredible height and their very long clips,
is you hear a VO, you hear additional music. We don't want that, right? I mentioned that in the beginning of the first live stream that we started, that we don't want to have a voiceover or any audio from any of your videos ending up here in your reel. And so what you need to do in order to shut that off is on your layer, you will see this little audio icon. You need to turn that off on that layer specifically for that clip, right? And so when I do that now, it's just the music on the background, right? This is cool. I think that it should be sped up a little bit here. And I'm going to show my levels again. We don't want the clip super long. Maybe finding a section of the animation where the beat and the animation can sync up to each other. So I think that the part where his head goes up and the tongue comes out is a great section to have that right there, right? This dun. Okay. So it's a lot of just tedious details that you start looking at and that you have to adjust here. And so what I want to do is I want to remap the time. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this using this enable time remap. Before I use this time stretching option, which was great, but there's another option you can use which also works, which is that time remapping that I was telling you about. And so I'm going to select that. Now, when you select time remapping, what's going to happen is at the beginning and the end of your clip, you are going to see keyframes. Okay? When you take the end keyframe here, the last one, and you drag it out, it slows down your animation. When you bring it inwards, it's going to speed up your animation, okay? So keeping that in mind, we want to kind of speed that up here. And it looks like I sped it up a little too fast. I want to pull that out. I think this section right here where it goes, this dun dun dun, we can switch to another clip. So I'm actually going to trim this here. Because these clips aren't meant to be long, like I said, they're meant to be kind of short, and that's why we're picking and choosing and we're kind of moving things around as needed. I think that another cool one would be, this one's cool. Alexandria's Surreal project was neat. Let's drop that section in. So if I go all the way to low, I think it's OBS tonight. Hey Angel, did you see how to cut the scene into pieces? By the way, I think that OBS is where the problem is, because I just received a notification on my computer that said OBS dropped the thing. So I don't know if that's a problem with OBS then or if it's with my internet, but my internet seems okay. It's not terrible right now. Again, Angel, how you clip the scenes is you double click on the video that you're going to do. You move your timeline to where you want it, either in the beginning or the end. You're going to set either an in point or an out point. In point's at the beginning of the clip where you want it to start. Out point is at the end of the clip. And then you're going to select this second one right there, that guy. And that's going to just insert that section of the clip wherever you're playhead is down here on your timeline. And so I want this to fade out into the next scene. Probably a 4-frame fade would look okay. It might not be too fast. But remember, when you're fading out one scene to get to the other, you have to place that scene below the one that's fading out. So I'm going to go T for opacity. We're going to start at 100. And we're going to move to the end of the clip, and we're going to drop that down to 0. Cool. That's neat. I think the clip here, let's figure out where we can stop this. Maybe we want to extend this clip, right? We want to see this on here longer. And so let's stretch this one out. So time stretch. And let's stretch this from new duration. Well, let's do a little bit of math here. So we start this clip at, if we look over here at our time code, we're at 8 seconds, 6 frames, and we end it right here at 12 frames, but we want to go a little further to right around here to 13. So we're going to add an extra second in 22 frames on here. So what was it at the beginning? 8 seconds to 12 seconds. What's this? 4. And then we want to add an extra second on here, so we need it to be about 5 seconds long. So I'm going to go to time stretch, and I'm going to change the duration. I'm just going to go and enter in 5 here, and then we can clip it down. The problem with that is stretching it too much makes the animation look chunky, and it doesn't look smooth, and that's a big no-no when you're wanting to show off your animation, right? There's a point to which you go too far. And unfortunately, that point has been reached in this clip, right? So I don't want to stretch this that far. Maybe I stretch it just slightly. Time stretch to maybe 4 seconds here, which is just a few more frames. I think this extends out a little bit here. Cool. If I control and arrow over, I can be on the final frame and trim that. Cool, right here, so we can get the entirety of that thing, of the clip. Save our work as we're going. Let's find another clip here that's going to work. The ball bounce one is cool. Logan's ball bounce. That one's sweet. So let's start right about at the top of the bounce, right here. Oh. I want to set an end point because that's where I want to start. 2, 3, and then set an out point, and then let's insert that here. We can have a hard cut here, so we don't have to. Notice we're kind of getting, we want to match the bounces up to the beat of the music, right? So, so maybe if we speed this up, dun, 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 dun. We might have to speed the last one up a little bit. Maybe on that last bounce is where we cut it. On that bounce. So instead of just cutting it like right here where the ball goes all the way up to the top, I'm going to cut it at the bottom of a bounce. And so it looks like that impact is what's switching the scene, right? So that's a cool thing to think about too when you're creating these. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, this cool, in fact, I know that which one is this one? Oh yeah, we got some text in here. Let's add a couple of those. We've got another robot here. Oh yeah, this scene was really cool. So let's do from here the endpoint. Let's go to the right before it fades off. We're going to select the out point. We're going to insert that here. Maybe we do a look what happens too when you add these. This is really cool because now we know that Melissa's video, when she was creating that, she created notes, because when you render it out, it renders that information. So now when I drag that into here, I can see where her scenes begin and end, which is actually super helpful, right? We're going to want to shut off the audio on these, both the ball bounce, any of the clips. Let's just shut the audio off on any of the clips other than the music. Boom. So we end up with a blank frame here, so we have to zoom in real tight and make sure that we just shuffle that scene over a little bit. Let's zoom out here so we can look. Boom. Want to take a second to enjoy this scene. Where do I want to this? I think I'm going to fade this off right around here, 20 seconds. And T, opacity. And moving forward. Where are we at? 20 frames. Let's go to 12 frames. We're zoomed in too tight there. Cool. Usually a 12 frame fade might be a little too long. So let's cut that in half. Bring that in here. And find another. Ooh, the robot arm is a cool one. I'm finding a lot of similar like pinks and stuff this semester, which is really cool. This might be a good spot to put a name. One of your text scenes. Good, better, best. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, this one's cool. The impact stuff. Let's do the squash scene. Right here from Janae. So in right before it cuts, let's do that out. And these are your guys' first drafts of these, so you know, you will have changes made to your ones, right? I just grabbed first drafts of your guys's so that I could use it for this, for tonight's lesson. So cool. Let's stretch this a little bit because we have a spot where obviously the music is going to change. The music starts to change. It's harder to see on this song, but the music starts to change right about here. So let's see if there's too much of a stretch. If we stretch this a little bit longer, let's go to time stretch. Let's add in several more frames, so 125 here. I think that's going to be too much, but hey, don't hit that. What are you doing? Are you trying to animate? Little Millie's trying to animate with us today, guys. So, come on, kiddo. There we go. All right. Struggle bus over here. I think it's a little too long. I kind of want it to end maybe right here. So let's time stretch and go back to, let's try 115. Yeah, that's perfect. Cool. So let's switch to a new clip. Let's go over here. And this is what you're going to do for the entire thing. You're just going to go through here and you're going to find clips of different projects that you've done. You want to make sure you're including all of your projects. So it might go to a minute 30. It might go a little bit past that, minute 45. Not a big deal. You don't want it super long though. Let's find, I've already done that. I want to get this. This robot arm is cool. There was the other one that I saw up here. Was it Trenton's? Logan's robot arm? No. Already done this. We can already see the, we'll use this one. Let's use Annika's. Cool. So maybe the section where the ball, let's drag this whole clip into here for now so that we can see. Oh, and by the way, if you want to drag a clip in to a specific spot, you just move your playhead over to there. You click and drag and you make sure that you drop the clip right where your playhead is, and it'll drop that clip in the exact spot. Nice. And we can kind of stop it. So we can keep about this entire thing in here. And then right about here, where the ball is gone, we can cut the scene. Maybe we want to, okay. We can have something maybe now that we use some masking to reveal. This was Efren, by the way, put in some great work on his hoverbot. Check that out, you guys. And that's some awesome stuff. Another hoverbot. I think this is another one. I know I grab more stuff. You know which one I'm missing? Is the Cinema 4D, the Cinema 4D motion design principles or motion graphics principles. So you want to make sure you have that one. Oh, this is Alex's little robot arm guy. This was funny. Let's play that just so you guys get to see it. Robot arm. Let's use this. Squish him. That cracked me up. I thought that was really funny. So let's put this on a specific spot here. Obviously you guys aren't going to have multiple robot arms in yours, but let's move this to a spot where the Kirby comes in right about here. So I'm going to just Alt open bracket to shut that, and then if I hold down Shift, it should snap to the end of this next clip. In fact, let's do a fun transition here. So let's create a shape layer, maybe a rounded rectangle. And let's not do a mask. We're going to create a shape layer, right? So I just want to click off of all my layers, and then I'm going to create the shape. And we want to animate the size of the shape, or we're going to animate the path of the shape, right? So let's go right here. We're going to convert to a Bezier path. And right about here, we're going to select the path, and we're going to keyframe it. And then we're going to move to right about here, and we want to just select these edges of the path and then move them all the way over holding Shift. So we have that kind of similar motion as the throw happening here. Now we need to bring this all the way to the edge here so that it actually will, because you don't want the mask to change without the clip being over right away, right? So we need to make sure that we extend that clip underneath all the way to where these keyframes end. I'm going to hit F9 to ease that. Let's go in here. Let's show our value graph is fine. And again, with these path animations, they look different. In fact, let's go to the speed graph, and we're going to edit the speed graph. So we want the peak speed, we want it to start off fast and kind of end up, or we want it to start off slower and end up fast, right? So we need to create that sloping curve to a very peak speed up here. So I'm going to drag that all the way to the end. All right, let's add some motion blur to all of this stuff. Hi, Miss Millie. I'll take you out in just a minute, baby. You got 10 minutes, okay? Can you wait? All right. You're a good little girl. I understand. So I'm going to shuffle this over a little bit to slow that one down. And let's set this, actually Alex's, we want it to reveal his, so we're going to change the track matte to, let's name this, right? So path mask. I like to put mask in the beginning so that I know I can find it easily when I go to select my track matte. Oh, there we go. So it's going to and reveal Alex's. Cool. And then we can just clip this layer right at the front there. And let's add some motion blur onto that. So turn on this motion blur. So we get this nice squeeze, drop. And before we get to that spot, I'm going to cut right here because we can add in a new clip and use that downward motion to bring something else in. So let's get one of those texts. Cool, this one will work. Good, better, best, fade. Let's get something with maybe, this will be cool. Good, better, best. And let's use Trenton's because I'm actually going to use Melissa's for an end one. Okay, let's cut that layer. Let's bring this down in here. And let's animate this clip downwards. Shut the audio off. Let's bring this above here. And so right here where it drops, maybe what happens is we animate Alex's clip upwards. So let's go to position. And we're going to keyframe the initial position here. And when it drops all the way down here, we're going to also drop this down. And we are going to bring this one up. So position change here. So I want to end up here. But up here, I'm going to bring it. Did I shut this off? Oh, that's because we're in our layer. We need to go to our composition. So if you guys get a little lost, you're like, what's happening up here? Make sure that you just end up in your main comp and you'll be okay. Let's exit out of that. That's going to drop. And when that's dropping, this one will be coming in at the same time. So let's make sure we match this. one thing I did here. So I need to zoom in, move that keyframe to the beginning. This one over. Here we go. This can also be done with nulls. Let's ease this animation here. Want them to be about the same, so I'm actually going to take this, go like this. What is happening here? I wonder why it's black at first, because it's not. There we go. Just had to trim that clip there a little bit. Let's add some motion blur onto these, both these layers. This one and this one. So when they zoom down, cool. In fact, I can move this over here. Neat. And then we can let this play out. Good, better, best. And then when that zooms in, we could introduce our final, which would be our contact information, right? This should be the one that you end up on. The contact information screen. Most important one, I would say. So I'm just doing a short version of the reel for you guys. And here we could just do a traditional fade. What I would probably want to do is I definitely want to line it up to the music a little bit more if I had the time. And I would definitely want to maybe align my shots a little bit differently. To fit a little bit more and make sure that I had all my shots in there, right? But you definitely want to end up on your, you want to make sure that all of your shots are really lining up with the audio. I think this is okay. I would fine tune it, obviously, like I said, a little bit more to make it fit the audio a little bit better. And by that, changing the time remapping of the clips is how you can definitely do that. Also, picking appropriate clips that really match with the audio as well helps. Getting more creative with your transitions here, guys, and not just using like default transitions and stuff from your effects here is also going to help you out a lot. But the biggest thing is you really want to make sure you have a title. You want to make sure you're using all of your projects and they're not just thrown onto the timeline in order, right? Look how we chopped this up and had different sections of it. You can still have different sections of your same projects, right? So if you want to have 2 of your scenes from your custom 3 scene or from your from the motion graphics, like the principals projects you're going to want to have in there. Maybe you want to have both your real and surreal one in here as well. So you can add more. The ones that you feel are the strongest ones are the ones you should be putting into your reel, right? But I want to see at least all of the projects used. It doesn't have to be all of the scenes, but I want to see all of your projects into this into your reel. And I want to see the ones with the feedback implemented into it, okay? So I know Melissa had made when she created this one, she did updates and stuff to the stars, so the stars were moving. So I know that one's updated. That one would be the updated one that she would use in here, right? And then when this is all done, you're going to want to fade it out to black. How do you do that? You just get a solid black layer, and you just put it at the end there, and you just do a traditional opacity animation for a fade. Like I said, don't really rely on the effects and the transitions here in your effects. Start to make some cool effects here, right? Start to create your own, or I'm sorry, not effects, but transitions. Start to get creative with that and think of how the motion is from one scene to the other, and how can you implement that into your transition, right? So a lot of stuff to think about, a lot of stuff to work with. We're going to go over more techniques and stuff on Tuesday's class, where we maybe go over we're going to go over like maybe some more transitions if you guys want to know how to do those, or some more techniques for your custom 3 scene. But either way, we're going to work on that in Tuesday's class. So with that being said, definitely get a start on this. Even if you're not done putting together all your stuff, you can still, you're not done updating all of your videos. You can still put them together and then just swap those scenes out later, right? But other than that, I'm going to let you guys go for the night. I really appreciate you guys hanging in there, even though we had a lot of struggles in the beginning with everything. But do you guys have any questions for me before I close down the stream for the third time? If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in Discord. You can send them to me via Canvas if you want to. But I'm going to let you guys go. You guys are the coolest. Again, I'm excited to see all your stuff. I will catch up on the Monarch grading, and then I'm also going to grade the 3 scene animations that we already have in here, so we can get a head start on that kind of stuff. Make sure if you don't have them done to get those done, so I have time to go through them and give you guys updates to it. Other than that, enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday's class. Adios.